is that time again for the Farmville Spotlight. Your time right now, it is 4:03, and today's date is July 31st, last day in July. And I am very excited by the guest today. We have joining us Chris Matisa.
Yeah.
Is that right, Chris?
Yes,
and
that's right.
I'll ask you to move that microphone a little bit closer. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, a little accident in the studio. The mic fell down. No worries, though. All right, you go ahead and test that.
Testing.
Sound golden, Chris.
All right.
You sound great. And Chris, you own and operate Kiss of Ink Tattoos in Farmville.
Yes.
Is that right? And I got to ask you. Let's start from the beginning. Where are you from?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. I could
Born
tell
and
by the
raised.
accent a little bit. Yeah.
And in the city of Trenton.
Sure.
I hailed from there right up until I found this part of Virginia.
Yeah, that's a lot of Trenton people and people from New Jersey do move to Virginia. I've heard there's been a couple of people.
It's definitely, you get land and way lower taxes.
Yes.
I mean, like
Insanely low taxes.
yeah, 1/120th, 1/130th, and that seems impossible. But yeah, from where I was from, taxes.
It made a big difference. Wow. Yeah. And Chris, I got to ask you, why tattoos?
I've always been an artist.
Sure.
I was, I took art classes and I really pursued art my whole life. My very, very, very first job was, I called my uncle. He had an excavation company, and he says, I says, Uncle Bill, I want a job. And he says, kid, you don't want to work for me. I dig sewers for a living. And I looked at his house, it was a mansion, and I says, well, maybe I do, And he says, you're an artist, kid. He said, go to my sign guy tomorrow morning, and he'll give you a job. Learn a trade. And I went and I learned how to hand paint signs. This was long before the computers, which we still have in our shop.
Sure.
We do our own signs, but we just don't paint them anymore. And that led me into New York City as a designer of facades of buildings. I actually, not really that I designed them, I converted blueprints into a full drawing, looking like you were actually in the place. This was before CAD and all that. And this is the God's honest truth. I had left New York City. It got too much for me to handle going back and forth in the train, and at the time, I couldn't find an apartment in New York, so I was kind of stuck commuting. And I says, I'm going 12 hours a day. So I went to work in the union, and I was on a job site, and this hippie guy, Moon Baby, if chances of him hearing this is slim and none, but he says, man, you'd be a great tattoo artist. And what prompted him to say that is and this is no hard feelings to anybody, I was drawing a picture of the taper on the job in a dress, taping a ceiling, plastering,
Yeah.
And they literally cut out a piece of the wall and Xeroxed the picture and sent it all through the company as a joke.
Wow.
And the guy said to me on lunch break, he's like, man, you make a really great tattoo artist. You ever think about it? And I was like, no. But it stayed resident in my mind. And I was in a Wawa store, a convenience store, and I saw Tattooed Biker magazine. And although the pictures were slightly grim and all that, the tattoo work was incredible, and I started gaining interest in how this started with, tribal people thousands of years ago. And so I spent a lot of money back then, and I bought some equipment, and I learned and learned and learned, and I dove into the art. And then next thing you know, I says, I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to open up a studio.
Yeah.
And that was it from there. And it was like a rags to riches story. Not that I was doing bad in the union, but at the time, I think our rate was $24.10, which was a lot of money. I mean, this is the 1980s, you know? $24.10 an hour was really good.
Sure.
And I said to myself, well, if I get a studio and I got to make this much a day to be sure I can survive. And I said, let's say I said, I need to make $1,000 a week. Well, I probably made that the first day I opened.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, I think this is a good business. And the funny thing is before I tattooed anybody's skin, I tattooed my own.
Interesting.
Practicing.
So you practiced on yourself before you...
And, people, when they find out you have a tattoo machine, they'll come out of the woodwork. I'll do it. It's really a bad thing to do because a lot of the people bought a tattoo machine, but they have no art experience. They don't do any research. They don't read any manuals. They wing it. And I was very methodical with finding out how to do things, practicing, and just the knowledge of it all.
Yeah.
And so I got my first tattoo even late in life in comparison to most. I think I was 26 years old before I got my first tattoo. And then... do
you mind if I ask what that tattoo was?
Right here. This is the Virgin Mary. And she's above a cross that says Alpha and Omega because, the Bible. And that was it right there.
That's beautiful.
And it's never been gone over. And, of course, it looks like a, 30, 40 years old tattoo.
It does indeed, yeah. No.
But it's still there. And I take great pride in a lot of my tattoos because they're all thought out about my beliefs. So,
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Let me ask you, what is the average age of a person getting a tattoo from your experience?
Well, we limit it to 18 with ID or 16 to 18 with your ID accompanied by your parent with their ID.
Yeah.
So it's not just
it's somebody
you came in with the cool neighbor.
Exactly.
And believe it or not, we get a lot of grief from a lot of people about that. They're like, this is my kid, and how could you tell me, and what's the difference? And I'm like, hey, listen. At one point, I owned the busiest studios on the whole East Coast. So I've experienced every possible conundrum.
Customer and grief.
And I had a customer come in one time, and she said, you tattooed my daughter, and that's illegal. And I said, well, there's really no law, but let me break out the paperwork.
Sure.
And sure enough, I said, well, I have an ID right here. She came in with an adult, and there was the ex-husband brought the kid in. And she was very mad, but I said, what do you want me to do at this point? To this day, we are real firm on the ID thing.
Sure.
A lot of shops aren't, nor do they have to be. I'm not degrading anybody. I'm just saying, like, if a tattoo is a $55 shop minimum, okay, even for a small tattoo, it's really not worth going to court over.
Yeah.
So the more your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, I carry the insurance I'm supposed to. I was state licensed. When I came down to Virginia, I got licensed here. So I definitely believe in the legitimacy end of it.
Sure. I understand. Well, that is it sounds like that one case with the mom being upset. It sounds like they have their issues they got to resolve at home.
Yeah,
it's not really for the
like
tattoo.
That's a you thing, man.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Well, that is very interesting. Do you feel like tattoos have gone mainstream because like back in the day, I don't know, it was maybe like a certain group of people would get tattoos.
It's funny you should bring that up.
Sure.
When I first went into the business, there was classes of people.
Yeah.
Let's say I ran into a 70-year-old woman when I first went into business. They didn't mind tattoos.
Interesting.
Because they were all wives of World War II guys. And they would look at my tattoos and they'd say, my Henry came back from the war and he had a Hewlett girl on one arm and a battleship on the other arm.
Sure, yeah.
But now, if you bet people at that same time I went in business who were, let's say, 50 to 60 years old, they did not like tattoos because tattoos represented the 1%, bikers, outlaw type thing.
Yeah.
So it was like a thing to bring it into the public eye.
Yeah.
and becoming legitimate. And like I said, when I first went into business, there was no delegation for it via the state or the county. I remember calling the Board of Health in Trenton, and I'll never forget, like it was yesterday, the lady was Spanish, and she said, Board of Health, and I says, hey, I'd like to know, do I need to get inspected? I want to open up a tattoo studio. And she says, so why you call here? And she had the heaviest accent. And I says, well, blood,
sure.
Blood,
needles,
And she said, you serving food? And
That's all they cared
said no. And she said, so why do you think the Board of Health got to be involved, right?
Yeah.
This is the mentality.
Yeah.
2 years later, and I have on all my literature, in business since 1995. That's when we received our first real business license in the city of Trenton. Before that, there was no section for tattoos. There was hair salons, there was nail salons, food, fast food, mobile food, everything but us.
Yeah. Do you think that was an intentional
I think it was just
oversight?
Overlooked.
Yeah.
I think, people walked by a tattoo parlor back then, and no matter what their opinion of it was like looking at the sidewalk. Oh, look, there's a crack in the sidewalk. And just keep walking. It wasn't a nuisance. It wasn't a good thing or a bad thing. It was just overlooked.
Yeah.
And when I saw the combination between that and the growing popularity and the money that could be made, I said, this is for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sitting in a nice air-conditioned in the summer,
listening to some good
in the
music.
Winter, got the music playing, jiving with the guys in the shop. And believe me, in the city of Trenton, my shop, you could ask anybody, there was 40, 50 people in there always.
Wow.
There was it was like a barber shop. People come in and they have their grievances that they're talking about, and they're just hanging in the tattoo shop. They're not getting tattooed. I probably did tattoo them. But it just became the place,
What was the name of your shop?
Originally, we were Il Baccio Tattoo.
Why that name, if you don't mind me?
It's my Sicilian descent. I thought of a lot of names, and I wanted the kiss of ink, and I wanted it in Italian. And I lived in an Italian neighborhood called Chambersburg at the time, but it translates to Il Baccio di Incostra. And I thought that's a little complicated for most. So we shortened it to just Il Baccio, the kiss.
Okay.
And it's like, kind of, in my mind, it was when the needle touches the skin. The first kiss is a tattoo.
Yeah.
And my second choice was I Sing the Body Electric from an old Twilight Zone episode.
Nice.
And it went great, and that's what we were known for, Il Baccio. I remember when I truly felt I was a success in business, I was at a very, very, very high-end restaurant. And I walked in the door, and the guy says, right this way, Chris. And I says, well, this guy doesn't know me. And he says, I know you. You're Il Baccio.
Wow.
And I says, I hit the big time.
Yeah.
People actually know me. And I ate a lot of cold, very expensive dinners because people would come up and ask me questions. And you get a little annoyed. Like a lot of the new school tattoo guys are like, I don't want to talk about tattooing when I'm not in the office. Whereas me, I was like,
open to it. And
the reason I can eat in this restaurant
Yeah.
is because of this person.
Yeah.
So, and I just knew I had become a success.
Wow.
And when I moved to here,
Sure.
Il Baccio was extremely confusing for Southern people.
I understand.
So I changed it back to English.
Sure.
The kiss of ink.
Well, then that is quite a story. That is really, really cool. Well, I mean, this is really great so far. We do actually have to take a quick commercial break at this time, Chris.
Hit it.
And I would like to mention, once again, the Farmville Spotlight is brought to you by North Street Press Club, your destination for great food and drinks, located at 127 North Street in Farmville.
Craving great food and drinks in downtown Farmville? North Street Press Club is the place to be. Enjoy global grub and local vibes, whether you're dining in or relaxing on our patio. Good times are always on tap. Call us at 434-392-9444 for easy pickup or to discuss your catering needs. Let's make your next event delicious.
So good.
Visit North Street Press Club today, where food, drinks, and fun meet.
Here's that song again. Here's that song again. For the 100th time today. Here's that song again. It's gonna be stuck in your head all day. Here's that song again. It will make you cray cray.
You love your kids enough to watch that TV show a bajillion times. Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat for their age and size. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Once again, the Farmville Spotlight brought to you by North Street Press Club, your destination for great food and drinks. Call them today at 434-392-9444. And once again, we are joined today by Chris Matisa, owner of Kiss of Inc., owner and operator of Kiss of Inc. And Chris, how long have you been in Farmville for, your location? I don't believe we talked about that.
I was here for almost 16 years.
Okay.
My first location was in the Arts building, the little tiny doorway that's there with just a window.
That's right, yeah.
And we were across from Andy's pawn shop. And Andy's pawn shop, he was changing venues and moving, and he put his building up for sale. And I says, well, I'm interested in buying the building. And then we moved across the street.
So you were located where the coffee mill was at one point, I believe?
No,
the coffee.
yeah, next to that.
Right next to that. Okay.
And I bought that building, the two-story part.
Sure.
The coffee mill is, believe it or not, a separate building.
Okay.
And that not the camera shop, but part of the camera shop is in even another building. They're all just oddly close.
Yeah. I believe this is actually kind of a weird story. I believe I have one of your stools when you were moving out. I think it was one of the days where you were moving to the new building, and I looked behind where the trash was, and I saw this like tall blue seats. Yep, I have that in my home right now.
Nice.
Weirdly enough, but I saw that and I was like, oh man, I gotta steal. Not steal. Obviously, it was like put out for
It's free for the taking.
Exactly. So I took that home with me, and I still cherish that little seat. So that's very cool.
I'm all about secondhand. When I first went into business, I literally had very little money, and I bought everything from secondhand stores for decorations, and through a freak coincidence, I got a tattoo chair or barber chair via my father-in-law.
Interesting.
Found one at a yard sale. Yeah, what are the chances?
Yeah.
And, so I decorated the place and put an open sign on the door, and that was that.
Interesting. How do you, I want to jump to like a modern, there's a lot of people in the art of tattooing and stuff. Do you feel like the mindset has shifted a little bit since tattoos have become a little bit more like mainstream to some extent? I don't know, I love tattoos, but like I feel like it is like a very common thing nowadays.
It's a thorn in my side, but a love at the same time. You love roses, but you hate getting pricked by the thorn.
Yeah.
And, the new generation is a little more into stardom than the business end of it.
Sure.
I think a lot of them should take more time to train in their art skills. Because my biggest thing is I've always ran shops that you could walk in and say, I want a tattoo representing my father. He passed, and I always remembered this. So I want all my artists to be able to draw something out of their mind and touch head-to-head with you.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like a big thing, a consultation and this and that. And it's kind of a way to defer the task of drawing. And I was fortunate by working in New York to experience deadlines and this has to be done.
Yes.
You know, and the corporate world is the most vile, crazy thing. They demand so much, and there's no excuse for anything. I remember, you know, when I first started in New York, I was 19 years old, and I got called into one of the VP's office, and all the jobs that we were working on were by their location. And the lady had New York hair up to the ceiling and fingernails 3 inches long. And you walked into her office, and there was an ashtray with a mound of cigarette butts. The room was filled halfway with smoke, and she had a cigarette in her hand, and she looked over at me, and she says, "How's the 604 Fifth Avenue job going?" Right? So I says, well, I haven't gotten a chance there to go there. And I'll leave it off the air, but she said to me, you should take your tiny little you-know-what and get in a cab, a tube, or walk to the location and find out what I need to know.
Jeez. Wow.
And then she took another long drag off her cigarette, blew it out in the air, and then looked at me and said, "Anything else?"
Wow. Yeah.
And I just walked out of the building, and I stopped we were right across from Macy's.
Nice.
And I stopped, and I was just like, this woman just emasculated me, made me feel a foot tall.
Yeah.
And wow. And I proceeded to go check
out the job after that experience. Yeah.
Right. It was
Where
just,
else do you go from there?
This has to be done.
Yeah.
So I combined a lot of things I learned over the years into the tattoo industry, which made me a success in the business.
Sure.
More than the stardom.
Yeah.
You know, I always was behind the spotlight. I was on a couple TV shows. We were supposed to be on, I forget her name now, but the show got cut short. Ricky Lake.
Okay, yeah.
And I got some interviews with this legal, he was a lawyer that was on the radio and TV, and I did a couple interviews with him. Because any kind of topic that came up about tattoos, they would call a place, and I guess I was on the hot list for the guy who will come to the phone and talk about anything you want to talk.
Sure, yeah.
And then it became my son's job, and he became a regular on this one lady's. I'm getting old now and I forget things, but they would call him for every reason. There's a new law out about tattoos, or this guy's in court about tattoos, and right away the phone would ring, and I'd be like, "Joe, it's so-and-so on the phone.
You want to take this one?"
Yeah. So that,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I definitely understand, coming from that background. Yeah. Like you having deadlines to fulfill, and also having that art background as well is hugely important. And I can see you really do care about your work, just about how you talk about it. It's very
really
apparent.
My claim to fame is that I want to see my tattoos on everybody who's tattooed.
Yeah.
And the best way, I always remember the hair shampoo commercial. The girl says, "I love this shampoo so much. I told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends," and the pictures kept multiplying on the screen. And I always said, you could be a big showman in this business and do giant back pieces, or you could give the common worker a nice tattoo for a great price.
Yeah.
And you'll do 100 of them, and they'll tell 100 friends.
Exactly.
The guy who gets the great back piece tells 1 or 2 friends, and they say, "Well, that costs too much. It's out of my league," and they don't look at it. I get more responses and more hits if I post a small, cute, or even mean, but a smaller, affordable tattoo. I'll get more likes on it by 10 times than if I post like something real.
Really time-consuming and like large.
Look, everybody likes a Lamborghini, right?
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But when they think about the car they can afford and they like, they say, "I want my real dream is the Miata."
Exactly.
Yeah, if they hit the lottery, they wouldn't buy the Miata; they'd buy the Lamborghini. But
Sure.
in their thing, their ultimate goal is a Miata.
Yeah.
And it's a great car. It's just cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my thought. And I always kind of based my pricing around what somebody could squeak out of their check.
Sure.
I didn't want to take your rent or your electric bill. But if you work some overtime and you said, "Hey, Chris, you came in the shop and, $19.95, I got $100.
Yeah.
Okay, get in a chair.
We'll figure
get
something
you
out.
down, and I put my best art in everything I do, no matter how stupid or simple it is.
Yeah.
It's my best work, always. And I lost some employees because of that attitude. They get somebody they don't really care for, or maybe somebody they really didn't like in high school. And they questioned me, and I says, even if I hated somebody in school, I wouldn't do a bad tattoo on them because when they show everybody,
they're coming back to you. Yeah.
Not him.
Exactly. No.
Or her.
It's almost like,
right?
I don't want to say free advertising, but in a sense, like you're showing your work and you're showing your
I'm
worth.
showing it off. I'm a peacock. I'm putting
exactly.
out my feathers and look at me, guys. So that's the way I always handled things.
Wow. Yeah, and I like what you said about like even like the smaller tattoos like that people can like relate to and almost see on themselves versus like those larger, which are amazing still. Like they take a lot of work, but they are maybe a little bit more expensive. Yeah, no, that is really
and it works
great.
that way in all aspects of life. You want to move to Florida, sure, there's beautiful mansions right on the water, and you say, well, that's great, but this little tiki hut by the beach, that's my range.
Yeah.
And it's just as beautiful in my eyes.
Yeah.
I
got to ask you, Chris, some people do see tattoos as like tradition, like maybe like their father got one or, like something on the lines of that. And some people may see it as like rebellion, and, others pure art, which, I that's how I feel about it. I don't have one, but after this, like talking with you, I want you to do mine if I ever get one. And so there you go.
I like that.
But what does a tattoo mean to you personally, like Chris?
Okay, me personally,
sure,
it's a way for me to put on my body some of my beliefs, something that I hold dear to my heart, like religion. I have a lot of religious-based tattoos, even on this arm, that has the devil and the flames and the word sin with the skull, and all hope abandon ye who enter in. That is my very everyday reminder to not be there, to not enter into that doorway. And on my other arm, I have the Virgin Mary, the crosses, INRI, which was, of course, over the cross.
Sure.
This is an Italian symbol here. This protects me from bad spirits.
Absolutely.
It's called the Molokia.
Wow.
And so to me, it's everything I believe in. I have on my chest, and people so commonly misrepresent, like I have SPOR, which is Latin, but it's the Senate for the people of Rome. And I always said, politically, it was Rome and Greece that realized that you can't have a king, a one all-powerful, and they developed the Senate, and the Senate was to speak for the people of Rome.
Wow, yeah.
And when you really read the history, they really had it all figured out, and we screwed it up. But I still believe in the Senate and the people and thing. So that's me.
Yeah.
And that's why I get tattooed. Mostly everything on me has some significance. Some from travel. That's when I was in France. And this is a guy who came from Scotland. And he tattooed me and I tattooed him. And we were at a tattoo convention and we met. and he invited me over to Scotland. And I never went, but we tattooed each other, symbolizing this is a sacred heart with a thistle. And the thistle is from his area. That was the flower.
Oh, okay.
And I did a sacred heart on him with the reflection of an American flag in it.
Nice.
And it was just, it's like a connection. So all my tattoos are have
beliefs and
kind of deep meanings to them.
Sure.
I don't believe you have to do it that way. I don't mock anybody for getting, Cookie Monster on it.
Sure.
If it meant something to them in their life or that's what they want. And that's kind of the great thing about tattoos. It's like you walk into somebody's house and they have modern art on the walls, or they have very classic works, or the Dutch masters who really worked with the way clothing fell on the body, and all that. There's such a range between the two things, and you have to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like modern art doesn't really move me. I can't walk up to a big red canvas and say, "Whoa."
Yeah.
But I respect it for what it is.
Absolutely.
You know? So that's the way I usually... There are only certain tattoos I won't do. I just... Because of my personal choice.
Sure.
And I stick with that.
All right. Let me ask you, in your opinion, what do you think is the most misunderstood part about tattoos?
I think a lot of people... I don't know if it's misunderstood, misbelieved, or altered to fit a scenario, but the marking of the body plague, the whole concept that the Bible says don't, mark
That's
your
right.
body. And I know a lot about the Bible, actually, and I've read a lot about it, and the part about marking your body with graven images or paying homage to false gods. And I think a lot of times adornment is... the sin of it would be, are you adorning as a show-off? You know what I mean? Like, I'm putting this out there to just show my strength or my ignorance or whatever.
Sure.
And I think it is a little bit out of, still, even though it's kind of commonplace now, it's out of the mainstream. When you get tattooed, you're committed to permanently marking yourself, and that's a lot of things that plague people in their mind. Like, you did it now.
Sure.
Like you entered that world, and I got to admit, I'm a little guilty of that. I don't believe most people should get their face tattooed. I think if you're not in this business, maybe you should stay above your wrists, below your neckline. Or shop in South Carolina because it's military oriented down there.
Sure.
We are not legally allowed to tattoo above the neck or below the wrist.
Oh, interesting.
Because the Marine Corps base is there, the Naval base is there. And I think that's part of it, and people who don't understand it may feel off-put talking to or being exposed to somebody who's tattooed, and it makes you sometimes intimidated. Easy explanation is bring 20 people to Jamaica that are heavily tattooed, and the Jamaicans actually, just absolutely were like, you're tattooed people, man. Like, that's not good.
Oh, interesting.
And I had a business partner, Snake, we call him, but his real name is Steve. And I was calling him Snake, and then one Jamaican said, "Why you call him Snake, man?" And I said, "It's just a nickname." "No, with all them tattoos and the name Snake, he's a voodoo, right?" I'm like, okay, but I never hung out and stuck needles into dolls.
Sure,
so
yeah.
If you say so. But that's the aura of it.
Sure, yeah.
And but I still stand strong about the face and hands.
Interesting.
I just don't leave it alone.
Unless if you're really in the business, and that's,
listen. At this point, I'm 57 years old. Yeah, I have facial tattoos and my hands, but like, this is me. I've been in this racket my whole entire life.
Yeah.
I'm committed.
Absolutely.
You know? And a lot of people care. It's a voodoo.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Some people. I mean, I feel like it's definitely gone mainstream,
Sure.
compared to like, early like 70s even,
Absolutely.
so which is great. That is almost improvement to like in society, like accepting of that, which is absolutely great. But I did want to ask you, do you have a piece that you consider like your magnum opus that is the best of the best? That you have, or I mean, obviously, I know you put like all your effort in artistic vision in every piece that you do, but was there one that you walked away from that was absolutely your favorite?
No.
Okay, that's a good question. That's a great answer. Yeah.
Artists in general hate all their work.
Mm-hmm.
Very few artists say, I am so in love with this last painting I've done.
Yeah. That is a great
They
point.
always look at it as the ultimate critic. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, I don't even know why the magazine used that picture. Look at this. And I should have done this. So no, I got pieces I walked away from and I'm like, the shading is actually what I had in my mind's eye, and I pulled it off. But if I look at it long enough, I'll pull my own failures. I'm not my own worst enemy, so sometimes I got to step back and say to other people, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And they'll tell me, Chris, this one's spectacular. This one is good, but it's just boring. I mean, there's nothing really great about it. It's a good tattoo, but it doesn't move me.
Sure.
But no, I'm my worst critic.
Wow, that is the perfect answer, honestly, especially like with that explanation. It does make sense that you would conclude that,
Brutal on myself.
Absolutely. How do people deal with the pain of getting a tattoo? Do you have any certain methods to kind of ease them into the
it's
process?
a psychological thing, most
Sure.
of all. Because at worst, a tattoo needle only goes into part of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go through the skin. So let's call it a millimeter deep. So I used to say it was like a bee sting. And then I was working on a vehicle and got stung by several bees that were in the spare tire. And as I yelled to my son, Joe, give me some bee spray. And he says, we don't have any. I says, give me a can of gas then. And he stopped and he looked at me. He said, Dad, what are you going to do, throw gasoline on the car and light it on fire? I was like, good point, son. So I brought it back down to, and I realized after I was stung, this feels nothing like tattoos.
Sure.
This hurts, and then it itches for 3 weeks afterwards. And I said, it's more like a cat scratch. Do you ever have a cat jump up in your lap and catch meat?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like that. So it's bearable. Sure, there's 100 places you'd rather be and 1,000 other feelings you'd like better. But it's the end result that brings you back. And the body has a fantastic way of making you forget.
Yeah.
I've tattooed many people who says, I'm never doing this again. That was the worst pain I ever dealt with. 2 months later,
they're back.
Yeah, you said I'd be back. And I said, yeah, it's kind of. And I always used to crack the joke. I says, I put special chemicals in that ink that keep you coming back.
It's funny. That's
right?
great. Yeah.
And they're like, do you really? And I'm like, no. I just. But there are topical ointments.
You sure?
They work for maybe 15 minutes unless you get. There's one that the doctor can prescribe to you that really works well for numbing the skin. The only problem is it makes it hard to tattoo the skin. The tattoo takes on the skin takes on a different property. It looks pale and very wet, like almost swollen.
Interesting. Yeah.
And when you tattoo it, you can have some erratic results. So I try to tell people, a lot of times the ointment they're putting on you that says it's numbing cream, it's really not. And if you use the real numbing cream, there's a lot more to worry about. Let's just try to go it.
Sure.
And I'll try to be nice, and I'm very fast at tattooing. I'm probably 50% faster to almost double the speed of the average artist out there.
Wow.
And that just comes from having a shop that in the course of a day I may do 30 tattoos back then, So I just learned to, look at something and in my mind, I explained it to a lot of my employees. It's like the Terminator when he gets in the truck. And in his brain, the truck analyzes the gear shifts and he learns how to drive. Well, when I look at a tattoo, I think about my path. I'm going to start here, I'm going to end here, I'm going to jump into this over here. So it goes really fast. So that's what I try to tell people. Let's go with it.
It's a quick, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
we could do this.
Yeah, that is really good. I did want to ask you mentioned your technique. How has your technique kind of evolved over, from first tattooing yourself to like now, knocking out a bunch of tattoos in one day?
The biggest way I evolved is I would see something new or somebody would say, I'm using this technique. And my problem is I never wanted to try a new thing on an actual paying customer because that's, I could have erratic results.
Yeah.
So either on myself or on my son or amongst the group of us, we would try things on each other and say, wow, this new needle really does help, or this cluster of needles, because it's not one needle you get tattooed by. It's usually minimum of 3 needles up to 100 needles in a cluster. And but I have noticed over the years, certain things I've changed is the way I move, where I move to, the change in people's skin. And there is a big change, believe it or not, via diet. I could tell definitely from the 90s into 2025, the skin is not as healthy.
Interesting.
On the young generation. I don't believe they eat well, get sun, and their skin is really not quite as
adaptable or strong,
Yeah, like it's weird. They get a lot of just reaction, swelling, and kind of weirdness to it. But I basically have over the years, I've leapfrogged and learned things just by trying, and I would say that's what helped me get faster and more pinpoint, and my ability to get into people's heads.
Sure.
For people to walk in and say, I was thinking of this, and when I drew it on paper, they were like, wow, that's exactly what I was thinking of. And it always used to crack me up because I would have other employees, and they would draw the customer something, and they're like, no, that's nothing like what I wanted. And they'd be like, I don't understand it. You draw something, they're like, perfect. And I'm like, you gotta listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Read into them. And that helped.
Yeah. Wow.
So knowing my clients, knowing my products, demanding the best has all helped me mature through the years.
Yeah, that is incredible. I want to ask you this one question. What would you say to somebody who is like teetering on the edge of wanting to get a tattoo, but unsure of if they really want one? I've talked to a lot of people that were like on that edge. I'm sure you've seen that in the shop.
I'm not hungry for $1.
Sure.
So I've done great in life,
Absolutely.
And I tell them, go home.
Yeah.
Think. Look at photos. Look at ideas. Think about what you're getting. Just by you simply coming in here and not knowing what you want, and you're in a place that's going to alter you for the rest of your natural life, don't do it.
Yeah.
Walk out. This is a life change. You will have this thing. I tell everybody, think about it. Tattoo's is the cheapest thing you'll buy. You could buy a core, you keep it for 20 years, eventually you get rid of it. The only thing you're going in the ground with is the tattoo.
Yeah.
And that was paid off decades ago.
Sure.
And so it is a permanent, even though I have a laser here, I have all kinds of lasers for engraving, and because we do signs as well, but I do have a tattoo removal laser.
Okay.
And it works extremely well. It's extremely painful. It's extremely costly. So why do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It sends chills up my spine when people came in and say, and being in a college town, and we had a shop at the Jersey Shore too, and they say, you know, I have a friend who bought a tattoo machine. Can you cover this tattoo up? And I'm like, you know, at no point should vodka, shots, the club, a tattoo machine should all meet at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, yeah.
Bad idea. Right?
Yeah,
And
that's a great point.
People sometimes used to look at me, especially when I told my son, I'm like, you're not getting tattooed till you turn 18.
Yeah.
People are like, you're joking, right? I mean, you've had this kid in this shop with you since he was 13 years old. And I says, well, he's learning a trade. I said, but he's not a man. Mm-hmm. He can't make his own decision yet.
Sure.
When he does, I wanted him to be sure it's what he wants. And he did. He has some beautiful artwork on him.
That is great. That is great.
Some of them done by himself, some done by other big artists that he ran into in different
brackets
cities
and
or
different
brackets
places.
And, you know.
Wow. How often does somebody come in? That's a really funny circumstance though, of somebody coming in and being like, I need this covered up. But that sounds like it's probably, happens more often than not.
Every day.
Wow.
Every day there is a person who comes in, and they may even be getting another tattoo, but they will say, hey, when I'm done, let me show you another tattoo and tell me if you think you could do anything with it. I already know in my data bank brain that it's going to be really messed up, and they're going to ask me, what can I do to improve it or cover it up? Mm. And my son, when he was first coming up through the trades, he was always snarky, but super funny. Like, nobody could not laugh. And people would come in with the most, horrific tattoo, across their chest. That was a drunken club night, and they're like, what can you do with that? And my son would go, why? It's perfect. What's wrong with it? The whole shop would lose it. And even the person asking would laugh and say, I know, right?
Yeah. That is great.
But
you need a little levity in that kind of situation, too.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Once a day, I would say I run into it or I even see a tattoo on them that I know they regret,
Yeah. Wow. Well, have you tried exploring? Do you have any styles that you haven't really dabbled with yet that you want to? I know you're very well versed in tattoos, but has there been certain things that have come out that you've hesitated?
I try them all.
You try them all.
Like a junk food junkie. Okay. If a new candy bar comes out, there's people that will go buy it. Well, if there's a new tattoo ID, style, look, whatever, I will try it.
Yeah.
And see if it suits me, if it makes me happy in my art. And I want to make sure I can offer it to people.
Yeah.
Because as trends rise and fall, you have to be able to do the trend to keep up with the competition. There are two types of things that I shy away from. Graffiti letters. Because of my education in sign painting and the rules of lettering, and believe me, there are people in calligraphy in that they are just besides themselves about improper lettering and layout. And that I am a failure at graffiti lettering because it looks too right when I do it. There's no rules in graffiti.
Sure.
This letter goes big and this one's small, and it just behooves me to do that.
Yeah.
So I won't do that. And believe it or not, there's a rising trend in old school or classic tattoos. And I'm having a little bit of an argument online with a lot of the young artists who believe in, we're into the history and the thing. And I'm like, but you don't even know what it's like, what it is. I said, these tattoos that you covet, you do realize they look wrong because that wasn't a style. That was the limitation of the artist at the time.
Yeah.
The artist had no way, when you walked into a shop and you pointed on the wall and you said, excuse me, sir, I'd like skull number B4, but I want it 3 inches bigger. You were at bay to how well that guy could reproduce it by hand.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you got a lot of crooked, weird, you
things going on with that skull.
With, one's going this way, one's going this way.
One's got like an extra long leg or something.
Yeah, their feet are twisted looking.
Sure.
And that's a real common thing, and they a lot of, I've been called the Walmart of tattooing. I've been told that I don't know what it is because I don't use a magnetic machine. And I tell them, you realize I've been tattooing for 30 years. You're 25.
Yeah.
I was in business 5 years before you were born. Yes, I've used a magnetic machine.
Sure.
Okay? And I had a handheld AM radio that took a 9-volt battery, too. Now my phone is digitally mastered all my music. It's better.
Yeah.
You have to change with the times. And it bothers me, the traditional tattoos, as they call them.
Yeah.
But to each his own. If you really want that thick lined, and I tried to explain to him, I says, that there's a reasoning for the way things were done. The lines were thick because the needle technology weren't very fine. They were pretty stubby needles, and they used them all day, the same needle. They didn't throw needles away. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Excuse
no,
me,
you're good. You're
very
good.
sorry.
You're good.
That's BS. Them needles were dull, and you used to go to the boss of the house.
Sure.
So you would call him, and you would show him your needles, and he'd take out a little magnifying glass, and he'd look at the end, and he says, "Nah, this is good for the day. Use it to the end of the day. You get a new one tomorrow." Or he might trade you up for a new needle, but they just washed them.
Sure. Wow, that's crazy.
So,
I wonder how many, is there a potential for, I don't want to say diseases, but you know what I mean? Like, kind
absolutely.
of. Yikes.
Okay, here's the key with tattooing.
Sure.
AIDS, not a real worry.
Okay.
When AIDS hits the open air, it's instant death. But you know what is an extreme worry is the other diseases that can live on surfaces of things. Hepatitis is one of the worst. There are more people who are in the age groups of 60 to 70 years old that have hepatitis than you know, because our knowledge of hepatitis was as far as blood to blood or bodily fluid to bodily fluid. We didn't understand that on a countertop, it can live up to 30 days.
Wow.
Thus transferable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your chances of getting a disease from a tattoo needle are extremely, extremely small. Point in fact, the Legal Eagle show I was called on to was a thing about a kid who confessed to his father that he got AIDS through a piercing. And it turned out the kid got AIDS. He was a gay kid, right? But he didn't want to tell his father that.
Sure.
Because in the time it was, a touchy subject. So it was better and more believable
To say that it was the
I got
needle.
it from this piercing needle.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and I told the lawyer, I said, it's not like it carry, you know what I mean? You'd have to dip that thing into something.
Yeah.
And then almost immediately in a vacuum tube, put it through them to kind of thing. I says, the kid lied, but I guess for kind of good reason.
Sure. Yeah.
And it turned out to be true. He did lie. And his father came to terms with it.
Wow.
And even, what do you call it? The beautiful bombshell beach girl, Pamela Anderson.
Yes, yeah.
Got hepatitis, and she says it was from a tattoo.
Interesting.
Whereas Tommy was an intravenous drug user, and there's probably a better chance of that's how it, you were
transferred.
married to the guy.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
piercing, I don't buy it.
Yeah. I do want to open up the phone lines for anybody listening in. You can call 434-394-0924. We have about time for one or so questions. So
Hit it, guys. Call.
Yeah, if you have a question for Chris Matisa, feel free to call that number. And Chris, I'll we're going to be wrapping up the show here. Do you have any? If you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell him? Knowing with what you know now.
Buy more Apple stock.
Buy more Apple stock. That's good
No,
piece of advice.
in reality, I think I would have altered the way I did business, and I probably would have moved to the South earlier because the income to pay out was different, which, don't forget, is not just better for me, but I can provide more with lower overhead.
Yeah.
And I tell people, as crazy as it sounds, I've really tried to keep in a thing. In 1990, when I first opened up, our shop minimum was $40. It's now 35 years later, and our shop minimum is only $55.
Wow, that is not much of an
Most shops are $100.
Sure.
So I've used my lower overhead and my ability to buy bulk and get massive discounts to bring a tattoo. Because here's what happens. When they become too unaffordable, they go to the guy working in his basement or his garage or in his living room of his mobile home, and they get a really shoddy tattoo. So I figured if I can give them something really good for an affordable price, I could help correct the potential problem.
That is beautiful. And they wouldn't be coming back to you afterwards being like, can you cover this up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but it's not.
No? Well, Chris, that's going to wrap up our time. Thank you so much for coming in today. Once again, this has been the Farmville Spotlight, brought to you by North Street Press Club, located at 127 North Street in Farmville. You can call them at 434-392-9444. That's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Farmville Spotlight. Don't forget to tune in to the last Thursday of every month for a new episode. And we will be back in the morning with the Call Flow Show. Chris, thanks once again for coming in. Appreciate you. Take it easy.
All right. Now
Have a good night.